Minister. What really informed, or what do you think can be an advantage to us as a republic, having the same arrangement that we had before, mixture of technocrats and those ones who are politicians sitting in the cabinet?
Okay. In terms of having members of parliament being the ministers.
Yeah, members of parliament being the ministers, we had actually come out of that part, then we are going back.
Yeah, but I will prefer going back there, because during that time, they were accountable. Members of parliament, when they go out, they meet the common mwananchi, they understand their place and their plights, their problems, their challenges they are facing on the ground. In that parliament, most of them will articulate issues and formulate policies that are going to spearhead developments to common mwananchi. But look at the technocrats, what we've been having from 2013 to 2020 right now. Some of them, they're not even accountable. You call them in the parliament committees to come and report, some of them they will even defy, they will not even come to the parliament to give the accountability of what they've been doing. So having members of parliament being ministers, it's going to be something that is going to push us in terms of development, because we understand the nature of the people on the ground. Another thing, we're going to cut down on cost in terms of the salaries that have been earning. Members of parliament will just get allowances, but look at having cabinet secretaries, they are getting salaries and allowances, so it's going to be a cost-effective formula for us.
So you think that having this person mwenye anaweza ingia mashinani huko na pia anakuja kwa cabinet, they're easily in touch with the people and the realities on the ground. Thank you. Now another thing here as we come to the home stretch is where necessary, the president can appoint some members of parliament as ministers of state to assist cabinet ministers in the work at the National Assembly, and then these assignments will not come with any additional salary. And then 6 is abolish the position of chief administrative secretary. And I want Mr. Vitalis to tell us, as a legal consultant, whether in the first place the chief administrative secretary is anchored anywhere in law.
In my opinion, I think the position of chief administrative secretary is unconstitutional. However, the constitution gives the president some discretion to appoint some of the state officers. Yes, like cabinet secretary, of course. Those that not go through parliament for vetting. Yeah, there's a leeway that's given some discretion to the president to appoint some of them.
Okay, so here they are talking of abolishing it. Do you think it's any remedy for anything?
Let it abolish. I prefer we abolish it. Let us have the cabinet ministers, the ones we've been having, because we're looking at a way that we're going to have a system that is going to be fair in terms of the expenditure that we've been having, and also in terms of the management of that system too.
Thank you. Now, part 2, there are other suggestions here that ensure that the system of representations accords the following principles that guarantee that Kenyans are fairly and equally represented. I think here is where the cry of Mr. Vitalis equals ID. All nominations and elections are free, fair and transparent. B, all persons to be included in the party list must go through a system of vetting that involves the public. And then C, as much as possible ensure that each vote has the same status and power. And then D, whatever change may be made to constituencies, save the protected constituencies as they are key for representation in sparsely populated area. And then E, all nominations to parliament and county assemblies must be done in a transparent process. So when you look at this part 2 of it, don't you think that the constitution had actually spoken loudly about it, or just a repetition of what was there before?
One, I think the governance of political parties is very integral in this, because when it comes to issues of nomination, and that is why we also picking the perspective that it's only political parties that can also cure this issue of gender inclusivity when it comes to elective positions. And of course, it's a sticking point, because the Chief Justice recently issued that advisory to the President to dissolve Parliament on the basis of failing to provide legislations when it comes to 2/3 gender rule. When we have parties that outline clearly how nominations are done, that you provide a list. If, for example, assuming it's A and C, how many male candidates do you have? Then you give a proportionate number. Now when it comes to nominations, a proportionate number of now female candidates who are poised for nomination. Yes. If in a political party, in terms of maybe members of parliament, we have 50 candidates who are running, or let's say 290 candidates representing the number of constituencies. When it comes to nomination, look at the numbers you've projected. How many men are running? Maybe there are 100 men, there are 190 women. Can you now have a proportional number when it comes to nomination? Have at the same ratio the number of women in the nomination list compared to the number of men in the nomination list.
Many thanks, Vitalis. Now we come into the part that Mr. Mulama had a big cry, about the Independent Electorates and Boundaries Commission. Yes. So on this part, there are a number of suggestions here that removing all current commissioners and establishing a commission for the next election. And then we have provided that all IBC staff serve on a 3-year contract that can be renewed only once, so that every new commission can determine its own directions rather than become a captive of the IBC Secretariat. And then hire all returning officers through a system similar to that of hiring commissioners. And then returning officers should be contracted on a part-time basis and should not oversee more than one general election. And then another one is open up qualifications for the chairmanship of IBC, so that it's not a preserve for lawyers. A chair should be anyone with at least 15 years experience in senior management level. And then make the chairman of IBC the chief executive officer of the commission, so that he is not undermined by the secretary, who is currently the CEO. And then 8 is give the leaders of political parties role in recruitment of IBC commissioners to enhance support for the commission from political contestants. And there we begin from there, because people from political parties are seated on this show. One is Mr. Mulama. So you, as members of political parties, you'll be given a role in recruitment of IBC commissioners. And si mnaitwa mnaambiwa kaa hapo hivyo ODM, TIP, all those parties, and then you also participate. Sasa ikifika huko mbele mambo ya kimeibiwa inakuwa ngumu. What is your take on these new recommendations of how to manage elections?
Okay, I feel like it's the best time when we are going to have a fair election, because when a party is offering its nominees to be in that committee, they will not come back and complain that the elections were unfair, because they will be having their own loyal people who are going to sit in that committee, who are going to oversee, who are going to watch what's taking place, and will give feedback to their political parties. So having the same will help to solve this problem we've been having about the unfair elections, the irregularities that has been there. So we as political parties, we are happy about that one, and we know that as a party we are going to get the right candidates who are non-partisan. They have indicated that they must be non-partisan in elections. We're going to be non-partisan, but they are loyal members of the party who are in charge and going to oversee anything that is going to take place during the election.
Thank you. Now,
just an interjection. How many political parties do we have? Probably 50 or so. How many commissioners do we need?
Around 5.
Okay, the constitution provides for a maximum of 9 for constitutional commissions. So which party nominates who?
Now, before we get there, it's because of time, but as we promised earlier, this is a topic that will take us up to the end of the year. We shall still be here with other members who are being lined up for this important task. Now, there's these 2 parts, Mr. Vitalis, as a lawyer, you'll help us understand here. One is about the chairman should not be necessarily a lawyer, because initially it's been so. You remember Kivuitu was a lawyer. When we came to Chebukati is a lawyer. The one who succeeded, Chebukati succeeded, who was
Isaac Hassan.
Isaac Hassan.
Yes.
Isaac Hassan was not he was not the chairman. The chairman by then of IBC.
It wasn't Isaac Hassan after Samuel Kivuitu.
Isaac Hassan, yes. And then all these that have been coming, Isaac Hassan was working with Oswago.
Yes,
by then.
Oswago was the CEO. This
suggestion of the chairman not necessarily being a lawyer, from where you sit.
Yes. One, you know, it provides that the chairman must always be a lawyer. Then 2, as I said when we began the show, that law is politics, and politics is law. So whatever, and if you looked at especially IBC is putting up structures of governance. Yes. So it's full of legal implications from the beginning to the end, from how you hand over nominations to how disputes are resolved, when they end up in the courts. All these are legal procedures. So if you talk of somebody with 15 years experience in senior management in what? Yes, these are issues with legal implications. These are tool of power. A constitution is a tool of power, and power is politics. Yeah. So to me, I think the provisions on having the chairman as a lawyer is well thought out, and I think it should be.
Now let's finalize something before the parting shot from both of you, as this discussion has actually been officially opened. Yeah. The issue of having the chairman manage everything, in that hatuna hiyo story tena ya chairman na CEO. At some point when I was actually approaching some of these corporates or the public parastatals, I was wondering between the chairman and the CEO, who is who? Unaambia sijui chairman ni ceremonial tu, anakuja kufanya vitu zenye CEO execute. CEO pia anasema anachukua orders from the chairman. It really used to bring a lot of problems. And here the suggestion is that to have the chairman be the CEO at the same time. What is your take on that, Mr. Mulama?
Okay, in terms of the chairman, the CEO, there has been that supremacy battle, especially in the IBC. So
even in so many other parastatals.
Yeah. So I think having the chairman to act as the CEO, it's a good move, because there will be no blame game where you start complaining that it was done by the CEO. The CEO is the one who's in charge of the management and even the results, the transmission of results. So this one will make the chairman to be liable. This one will make the chairman to be responsible just in case of anything that is going to come out of that election, and is going to be accountable. So it's a good move to allow the chairman to be the supreme of everything.
Many things, gentlemen. Now I'll have to give both of you close to 50 seconds each to help our viewers, our politicians, and every other person as we move into this debate, because it has now been officially opened. On Monday, things will be there, but even right now, the report is there. Yeah. Parting shot, what do you think? How do you think people should conduct themselves, and what needs to be done in order to ensure that at the end of the day, whether the report passes or not, we have a country? Beginning with you, Mr. Vitalis, your parting shot.
Yeah, one, I can say BBI is a very robust document, and just like the 2010 Constitution, it's a giant. But unless we learn the principles of national values, I can say BBI will also be a giant headed to the rocks.
Thank you, Mr. Mulama.
Okay, I will just request the viewers, take your quality time and go through the BBI report and make an informed decision. That this document is about Kenyans, and if we make wrong decisions, it's going to have a negative impact to us. So just make sure that we read it properly and make an informed decision.
Many thanks, gentlemen. We come to the end of our discussion tonight, and we've taken our time through the wise counsel of Mr. Vitalis Omulepu, who is a legal consultant, and also Mr. Brian Mulama, a politician and a youth leader with the Amani National Congress. We've looked into two parts, that is the divisive elections and the part of inclusivity. The BBI has a content of around 11 issues that are going to be looked at in this clamor for the amendment or the change of the Constitution. This debate has officially begun, and moving to next week, we are going to have this panel and other panelists who are being lined up, including the chair of Implementation and Oversight Committee in the National Assembly, that is Honorable Jeremiah Kioni, who will be coming to studio on Powerbrief to help us dissect into this matter and what is the country of Kenya staring at as far as the change of the Constitution and the succession politics of the year 2022 is concerned. We appreciate your overwhelming responses on our social media platforms. For me, Cornelius Omuse, I wish you a very good night.